All right, ladies and gentlemen, you should be somewhere around page 13 in your package. Just look for the title, the description area where it talks about solving proportions. That's where you want to be today. Again, it should be roughly around page 13 in your packets. Please complete this warm-up there, just like always. Remember, you can hit pause as we move forward through a lesson. But right now, hit pause so you have time to solve these. All right, now that you're back, hopefully these are the answers that you got for your comparisons. Remember that we try to stick with putting the money on top. It's going to be an easier way to compare as we're trying to find the unit rates for each of these. The circled answers the circle is around the answers. So in this first example, your 16-ounce container would have been your better deal at 15 cents per ounce versus 16 cents per ounce on the other one. For question number 2, the 9-ounce container would have been a better deal at 13 cents, 14 cents per ounce, where the other one was 15 cents. And last but not least, the box of cereal, the best unit rate for this one is going to be the 18-ounce container, where it ended up being 13 cents an ounce versus 15 cents. Again. All right, today we're going to spend some time on solving proportions. Tomorrow we are going to spend time on writing and solving. Today the proportions will be given to us. All we need to do is solve. One of the first things we need to understand is, what is a proportion? A proportion is an equation that shows that two ratios or rates are equivalent or equal. So what does that mean? That's just a fancy way to say that I got a ratio on this side and that it's equal to a ratio on this side. It could mean that maybe in one example that I had 10 over 5, and that could be the same then as something that is 2 over 1. These would be equivalent ratios. The act of reducing or simplifying is one way that we can create equivalent ratios. We could even multiply to make them higher. We could take this and say, I'm going to multiply both of these by 4 and have 40 over 20. Those would all be equivalent ratios. Equivalent ratios, when simplified, have the same exact form. So if I was to reduce this and reduce this, they would all come back to 2 over 1. Remember at the end of the unit that one of your jobs is to take this vocabulary section, these vocabulary words, and write them into your vocabulary section. The act of writing is very helpful in remembering. We also have cross products as one of our vocabulary words. A cross product, remember the word product means to multiply. And so what this is saying is to multiply by going cross or across. A product found by multiplying the numerator of one fraction by the denominator of another, and then vice versa. So in this case, we have this little example, looks similar to like a little atom diagram, but what I would do is I would multiply these two numbers together. If I was to multiply 35 and 3, I should get 105. And if I was to multiply 21 and 5, I should get 105. And so equivalent cross products, two equivalent ratios, should have the same answer. Cross products should give us the same answer. They should equal each other. That being said, you have 4 examples here in your notes that we're going to go over together, and then I'm going to have 2 for you to try. If by chance you already think you know what you're doing, feel free to hit pause and solve them on your own, and then fast forward a little bit to the end and see if you got the answers correct. But I will be going through each one of these one at a time. Because I know that cross products have the same value, I know that I can take this 8 times that n. This would become 8 times n. And I know that it's going to equal or have the same value as taking this cross product of 10 times 10. 10 times 10 is 100. 8 times n is 8n. And that would get me this equation. Now, we spent a lot of time doing railroad track problems, solving for equations, so the next thing I need to do is do the one-step equation and divide by 8. And when I solve that, I know that 4 is going to go into that 25 times, and 4 is going to go into this 2 times. And it is okay if you wanted to leave the number like that. Again, you're solving for n, which goes up here, so some people may want to actually divide that out and get the decimal, and that's up to you what you would like to do. This, as always, should be able to fit inside here then, and I should be able to multiply them together to get an answer. So if I was to take this 12.5 and plug it back into n, I should get the same answer, 100 equals 100. All right, let's try this next one. Again, cross products means I need to multiply by going across. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 5 and I'm going to multiply it by that x. Then I'm going to cross the other way, and I'm going to take 3 times the 7. I know that these are equivalent because that's what cross products tells me. So then I know that 3 times 7 is 21. And I know that needs to equal 5 times x, which is just 5x. My job is not done, however, because now I need to actually solve the one-step equation by dividing both sides by 5. When I divide both sides by 5, you can, again, put this in decimal form if you want to, and I should get 4.2. Hopefully I solved that. I did that in my head. Hopefully I did that fast enough. All right. So again, cross products means you multiply by going across. The answers are equal to each other, so then we're going to use our knowledge of one-step equations to solve them. 2 more problems for our practice here. Once again, the first thing I'm going to do is multiply by going across. This is 6 times x, so that's going to become a 6x. 6 times x. This up here is going to become a 9 times a 10, which is going to become 90. So 9 times 10 is that. This would become 90. 6 times x is 6x. Now I need to solve using railroad tracks. And I need to divide both sides by 6. Remember, this turns into that gigantic 1. And it just goes away, leave me with this x. And I'm not sure if 6 goes into 90 exactly, so I'm going to try reducing them both by 3. I know that 3 goes into 6 2 times. And I know that 3 goes into 9 3 times with the 0 hanging out. And then I do note, since both of those are even, I can divide by 2. So I'm going to get an answer of 15 equals x. Last but not least, again, always feel free to hit pause if you want to try it before I get to the answer, just to see if you know what you're doing. In this case, I need to multiply like this, so I am going to take this 8 times n on this side. Over here, I'm going to take 7 times 7. I'm then going to be left over with 49 on this side and 8n over here. With my railroad tracks, I need to solve this problem, so I'm going to divide both sides by 8. And when I do that, the interesting conclusion is that a lot of people think that I would just get 8. Oh, if that's 7, then this is going to be 8. But remember, I need them to equal each other. And if I was just to multiply across, I would have gotten 49 equals 64. Well, that's not right. So what I need to do here is finish solving for this. So I'm going to take 49. I'm going to divide that by 8. And my answer would be 6.125, 6 and 125 thousandths. And that is what n would equal. To solve for cross proportions, cross products, you just have to multiply across and set them equal. Solve it using a one-step or two-step equation. That being said, we got 2 more problems to try. Same steps are going to be taken in place. Now I know that there's a handful of people that said, oh my, do you see what's going on there? And I absolutely do. So I'm going to walk you through these 2 problems before I have you go try some on your own. Here's what we need to know. It's still the same process. I'm still going to take this 9 times this 5. 9 times 5. And I still have to multiply this side by this side. The only difference here is that it's 6 times this entire thing. So all I need to do is take and put that inside a parenthesis, because it's going to be 6 times that entire group. So now I'm going to move down here. I know 9 times 5 is 45. And I know that this is going to be 6 times 7n plus 9. From here, I need to do my railroad track problems. We handed out worksheets on this for the Unit 2 test, or 3 test, and it was on the test itself. So what did I have to do first? I needed to distribute. 6 times 7 is 42n. Then I needed to take 6 times the 9, because distributing says to multiply it by everything in the parentheses behind it. 6 times 9 is a positive 54. And over here I have 45. Now I have a two-step equation. It's like doing PEMDAS backwards, so I need to get rid of this guy first. Notice this is a positive 54, so to get rid of it, I need to make it a negative 54. And whatever I do to one side, I need to do to the other. On the right-hand side, all that I have left is a 42n. And on the left-hand side, all I have left is a negative 9. Because remember, this right here is like a problem, 45 minus 54. You don't like to subtract, so we're going to change it. This is beating, so I know my answer is going to be negative. And by how much? I'm just going to subtract, so I know that would be a difference of 9. Now we're here, we need to divide both sides by 42 because we're trying to get that n by itself. I know that 3 goes into both of these, 3 goes into that 3 times, and 3 goes into this 42. What was it, 14 times, I believe? And that it's negative. It's okay to get decimals and fractions as your answers. As we dig deeper into pre-algebra, that's going to happen more and more. Let's look over here at question number 10. Same things are going to happen. First step I'm going to take is this 4 times the 6. And going across this way, this is going to be 9 times the quantity r minus 3. I know that they need to be set equal to each other because that equal sign's in the middle. 4 times 6 is 24. And that's going to equal the 9 times r minus 3. Again, after I get my railroad tracks in, this is where I need to do the distributive property. So I'm going to take the 9 times the r, get 9r. I'm going to take the 9 times the negative 3, and it's going to give me negative 27. And then over here, I still have 24. My goal is to figure out what does the what does the r equal? So in order to figure that out, I need to undo the PEMDAS and I need to add 27 to both sides. When I add 27 to both sides, this side is 51 and this is 9r. I need to continue solving this. My goal again is to get r by itself, so now I need to divide both sides by 9. This is r, and 51 divided by 9, I believe 3 goes into both of these. 9 divided by 3 is going to be 3. 51 divided by 3 is 17. And you could flip that around if you wanted to. There might be some people who say, you know what, 3 goes into 17 5 times with 2 left over. So you might want to change it into a mixed number, and that would be okay if you wanted to do that. Remember, for cross products, all you need to do is multiply across, set them equal to each other, and solve. I'd like you to take a few minutes and try these on your own. When you click or let the screen continue, it is going to show you all 4 answers at once. So make sure you solve all 4 problems before you check the answers. Go ahead and pause now. Okay, now that you're back, note that here are your answers showing you the cross products for each problem. The first answer for this one, you should have had 6. This one is negative 3 over 2, which is the same thing as negative 1.5, in case you put that instead. The answers down here are 17 over 3. And over here, m equals 9. All right, hopefully you had a chance to check those out a little bit. This should be hopefully some sort of review. You have done this in the past. You know cross products, or you've seen cross products, I hope. Coming forward, the only thing you may not have seen would have been problems like this where you had to do the distributive property and solve as well. Hopefully the rest of it you have seen. So remember that you're going to multiply by going across. You have to set the answers equal to each other. You may have to distribute, and that is okay and expected. Your homework is as follows. If you don't have any of your homework done from the past few days, make sure you get that completed, and also make sure that you are filling in all your vocab. I also want to remind you specifically that for this week, it is the last week to complete the retake on your Unit 3 test. Have a great day.